There you go. I see Paul made it.
Awesome.
And Robin.
Hello,
Hello, guys.
hello. See who else is able
We'll
to
see
join
who
us.
else makes it into the new
And we noticed Miss
system.
Polly is watching us
Polly's
from
on
Yuma.
YouTube and Yuma. Awesome. Good to
Yuma.
see you, Polly.
So, cool.
Uh-huh.
Got it. All right. We will see if anyone else is successful in joining us, but we've been giving some instructions, so hopefully that'll work. So, there we go.
Looks good. That's Paul. Oh, I can't see the chat line. It's too far down. There we go.
There we go.
Dan Hoyt made it in.
Hey, Pastor Dan, how are you? Good to see you. You successfully navigated the changes. So these are positive changes. It's just the getting everybody set up for the first few times, but we'll make it work. So.
Yep.
So as we're waiting to see if everybody else logs in, just a reminder, we are continuing in chapter 28 of the book of Deuteronomy. So we will hopefully navigate all of that. So, and let's see. Last week had the evacuation thing started? No.
No, because it happened at 11 a.m. on Friday.
Yeah.
That we got the notification that we were in the evacuation zone of the potential chemical explosion or leak of hazardous materials. That started last Friday at 11 a.m.
So it's been an interesting week. It's been a very, very, very interesting week.
Yeah, so we went and saw our clients because they were not in the evacuation zone. So we thought, well, we're kind of evacuating by not staying home. We left and went to work.
But yeah, but all clear now, well, mostly clear. I mean, they're still dealing with the immediate vicinity, like 300-foot radius around the tank that caused all the problems. But everything turned out well, and you could definitely see the hand of God in all of that because it was quite an adventure. So, but we did it. So, and we are here, and we are going to continue with our study. I'm just hooking up my power supply so I don't run out of power while we're doing this. So, and then ironically, in the community where we live, they decided to proceed with some street resurfacing and closing off blocks at a time, and it's been a challenge. So, so it is good to be here. It is good to be looking in the Word of the Lord, and it is good to continue moving forward. So we are in chapter 28 in the book of Deuteronomy. Angie, you made it. Congrats. Thank you for joining us and
Hi,
going through it.
Angie. So, I know, she's always first, so
yeah.
I know. It felt a little funny. I mean, just because it said like phone number, so I put that in, and then it said forgot password.
Right.
And then I got the code. They did that, and then I had to log in again, and then I had to put in my phone number 3 times for some reason. Finally.
But we made it.
Made it
and
in.
you made it.
So
and
I
that's
made
what
it
counts.
in. So,
that's what counts.
And then I'm like, well, it's all black instead of white and gray. So I'm like, am I in the right spot?
Right.
Yeah.
Login problems.
Yeah, I know. Third world.
Yeah, so things are changing.
First world issues.
Yeah, things are changing, and the login is a little bit different, but hopefully Gay's instructions were adequate and got you here.
Oh, there's a new emoji. You can have fire.
Thank you.
Fire, you're on fire.
Rich, you made it. Thanks, Rich.
Rich made it in too.
Yeah, glad you're on board too, and we'll see who else is able to successfully navigate the new method. And it's really not that hard. It's just it just takes a few tries, and you should be able to do it.
It just takes a few times entering.
Yeah, so be persistent. Be persistent.
Keep trying. If you're having issues, keep trying.
Right. So, but yeah, so we'll continue with that, and also there are alternatives should that need arise with that. So. But here we go. We're going to pick up the narrative in chapter 28. And again, we talked about, last week we were talking about the people were being instructed on what to do. And this was a community-wide event so that nobody could claim ignorance of what God was clearly telling them. they shouldn't have been able to claim ignorance anyway, because a lot of this is a reiteration of what has been said throughout the preceding weeks and months, according to during their time frame. So, but God is again reiterating it. Now, chapter 28, last week we looked at blessings. This week we're going to look at the curses. And we talked at length about curses, consequences.
Right, is a better term.
Is a better term for our ears.
Let me move the screen
our
to the
understanding.
split screen. Hold on.
Yeah, we're going to go to split screen here in a second.
I gotta find the mouse. There it is.
There
Found
it
it. Found it. Found the mouse.
Regarding disobedience, and that's what it boils down to: disobedience. So, so we're going to dive into this, but these are all curses, things that will have or will and did, in many cases, occur to the Israelite nation because of their disobedience, which is really crazy because, as we said last week, they had just come out of 40 years of God just blessing them beyond compare. Food every day, water in the midst of the desert, clothes that didn't wear out, pillar of fire and pillar of cloud, so many blessings, the parting of the Red Sea, witnessing Mount Sinai with the presence of God, and so many things, seeing, well, this generation wouldn't necessarily have seen, but hearing of the previous generation being swallowed up by the earth, and it just goes on and on and on. Quail and defeat of enemies and victories against seemingly insurmountable odds. The list is just endless. And here we know, from our 21st century perspective, that the Israelites disobeyed.
Right.
It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. Okay, so God pronounces these curses, and sadly, like we said earlier, many of them did in fact come to fruition, not because God is malignant or malicious, but because the people chose not to obey. When God says, "I need you to obey me," He's not fooling around. He is not testing you. He's saying, this is how it is. Obey, be blessed. Disobey, suffer the consequences. So here we go. And this is like when we were going through this, preparing for this study, it's like if you listen to music and especially classical music, and it just starts off slowly, and then it starts to build and build and build, and then the climax of the piece comes across, and bam, and that's what this feels like, and then it all comes down to, this is what's going to happen if you disobey. So here we go, picking up the narrative in chapter 28, verse 15. You ready, Doc?
Sure. But it shall come about, if you do not obey the Lord your God, to be careful to follow all his commandments and his statutes, which I am commanding you today, that all these curses will come upon you and overtake you.
Okay. As we read that, and as you're looking at it on your device or in your Bible, however you're following along with us, is there anything ambiguous about this verse?
Right.
Is there anything that is beyond common understanding if you're a reasonably intelligent adult and you have no comprehension problems? Is there anything that is not clear?
If you do not obey and you're not careful to follow all his commandments and his statutes, that all these curses will come upon you and overtake you.
Right. And notice there's the caveat. It shall come about. This is not a foregone conclusion in the sense that these bad things are going to happen to you. It's predicated on the idea this will happen if you do not obey. God is not ambiguous on these what is to follow. And again, it just hits you, and it keeps hitting you, and it keeps hitting you, and it keeps hitting you. And the idea was to drive home the point of disobedience to the Israelites. And yes, we are covered by the blood of Jesus, and yes, these are not necessarily what will happen to us. But again, this is a call for all Christians to listen to what God is saying and read our Bibles and follow our Bibles. Not just be hearers of the word, but be doers of the word and apply those things to our lives and live the kind of life that God wants us to live, and place His priorities first in our lives. And that's just the way it is. So here we go. Okay, and you've been warned. You've been warned. These are curses, okay? And they're curses predicated on disobedience. Okay, Guzik, quoting yet another commentator, I love the way they put this because it imparts the importance of what is to follow. The rest of the chapter is almost overwhelming. Indeed it is. As you read through this, it's like, this is terrible.
Right.
Okay. Actually, this is Thompson now. Actually, a logical analysis of this chapter is almost impossible, since the final aim was not to be logical. Well, how could this happen? How could they catch these diseases? How would this work? What would it look like? What if they did this? What if they only did this? You're going to go crazy trying to do that.
Right.
A logical analysis is not possible, since the final aim, what God is saying, is not to be logical. Okay, like we say, you don't wash your hands before you eat, you're likely to get a dysentery or something like that, right? No, this is not like this. This is disobey. This is what's going to happen. In the course of daily events, this is what's going to happen, right? But the point is to build to a vivid impression by presenting picture after picture until the hearer could see and feel the import or the importance of the preacher's words. Moses is not just throwing stuff out there to scare people. This is not a ghost story. This is not this is not a story to frighten the kids into doing what's right. This is God saying, this is the outcome of disobedience. Okay, this is not some fanciful tale like, when we were kids, we all heard your parents would do this and threaten that and blah, blah, blah. This is not that. This is God saying, this will happen if you disobey. And it just gets darker and darker and darker. So hang on, buckle up. Verse 16.
So here are the curses or the consequences. Cursed will you be in the city, and cursed will you be in the country. Cursed will your basket and your kneading bowl. Cursed will be the children of your womb, the produce of your ground, the newborn of your herd, and the offspring of your flock. Cursed will you be when you come in, and cursed will you be when you go out.
This is just a barrage of punches from every aspect throughout your community, throughout your country, throughout your family, throughout your basic sustenance, throughout your herds, which you are utterly dependent upon, throughout your children, which you are utterly dependent upon and desire to prosper, throughout the very ground you walk upon will be cursed. Your disobedience will be far-reaching. And again, this is echoed in the original sin of Adam and Eve. All of creation groans because of Adam and Eve's disobedience. Now God is making a way. He's actively making a way to rectify that curse, and we have that promise, and it's coming. It's coming. that God will restore all things and make all things the way he originally wanted them to be. That is coming through the course of time and through the work that he did on the by sending Jesus Christ, who willingly went to the cross. This is all being rectified, but God is saying, if you be disobedient, these curses will literally pervade every aspect of your life. So verse 20.
The Lord will send against you curses, panic, and rebuke in everything you undertake to do, until you are destroyed, until you perish quickly on account of the evil of your deeds, because you have abandoned me.
Bam. Do not miss that last sentence, that last clause in that last sentence. Because of the evil of your deeds, and because you have abandoned me. People, when hard times hit, when you're going through rough stuff, it's kind of our natural inclination to say, where are you, God? Where are you? And that's a legit question. That's a legit question. That I'm not saying we should never ask that question, right? Because sometimes it feels like God is abandoning it, but the truth of the matter is, God does not abandon his people. He does not abandon his people, and he makes it very clear, you have abandoned me.
Right.
We turn our backs on God. You can ask that when you're going through the throes of a nightmare in your life. Okay, we just officiated a memorial service. We're gonna be at another memorial service this coming Saturday. You know, we've had people come down with cancer diagnoses. We just lived through an evacuation order. All kinds of crazy is going on. And it's easy to say, Lord, where are you? Where are you? But remember, God does not abandon his people. Okay. Question. Hey, Robin, was this referring to a time in Babylon or during the upcoming 7-year tribulation? Yes. Yes,
both.
It's both. It's both. Excellent point, Robin. Excuse me. It is both. It is both, because not all of these, and that's what critics will say. Well, that didn't happen. That hasn't happened.
Right.
That hasn't happened.
Yeah.
You know, I saw it. I just saw YouTube just the other day. The person said, wait a minute, the Bible says that you will surely die. You know, and Adam and Eve, they lived a long time before they died. Yes, they did. But the point is, they died. They were not supposed to die, but they died. God does not reckon time the way we reckon time. So the answer to your question, Robin, is yes, both. And a very astute observation. Thank you. So just because something that God has said, and is recorded in Scripture has not yet come to pass, rest assured, it will come to pass. God will not leave, Scripture says, he will not leave one sentence unfulfilled, one promise unfulfilled. He will do exactly as he says that he will do. Okay, so great point. Verse 21.
The Lord will make the plague cling to you until he has eliminated you from the land where you are entering to take possession of it. The Lord will strike you with consumption, inflammation, fever, feverish heat, and with the sword, with blight, and with mildew, and they will pursue you until you perish. Yikes.
And again, throughout history, these things have happened on multiple occasions. Think of medieval, what thrust Europe into the Dark Ages. The plague. Mm-hmm. The plague wiped out 50% of the European population, it's estimated, and other places around the world as it was spread. Right now, as we speak, an edict just came down. people that have been to certain places on the African continent are not allowed to come into the United States because Ebola, the plague of Ebola, is sweeping across various regions of that country, of that continent. Okay, as it has done multiple times. Okay, effectively emptying out entire villages and entire regions as people flee and as they die, which is exactly what God is saying. And consumption, inflammation, sickness. Okay, these are all we would call them vague symptoms of multiple issues, right? Right, from a medical perspective, these are consumption just meaning wasting away. Can mean in its terminology here is a wasting disease. Okay, inflammation, right? Fever, feverish heat. Not only that, sword implying war, terror, hostility, violence. Okay, blight implying drought, seasons of drought or unproductivity of the land. Okay, the opposite of that, mildew, floods, just storms, hurricanes, things of that nature. Okay, and I'm speaking globally, of course. They don't necessarily have hurricanes in the Promised Land. Okay, but they do have floods and things of that nature. Anyone who lived through some of the hurricanes in Florida after the waters receded and such, mildew just popped up everywhere. It was mildew and mold and dwellings that survived the onslaught of the actual hurricane were unlivable because mold just took over and destroyed once vibrant households. Okay, and then God says they will pursue you until you perish. These things will keep happening. They'll keep going on until you die or come to your senses, basically. So, verse 23.
The heaven which is over your head shall be bronze, and the earth which is under you iron. The Lord will make the rain of your land powder and dust from heaven. It shall come down on you until you are destroyed.
Okay, this could be prophetic. This could just be the realities. Ironically, right now is fire season. Well, pretty much all year round is fire season, but fire season is ramping up here in Los Angeles, where we are, the Los Angeles region where we are. Okay, and there have been some major. In fact, there's a brush fire burning as we speak on this day, and the sky is I call it fire sky, especially around sunset. It turns red or orangish or in some cases bronze, depending on the smoke, how the smoke is dispersing across the sky, and the sky literally looks like bronze in some cases. It has that glow, and the earth under you iron being hard, and that's describing drought. It's describing ground that's unbreakable. Okay, that nothing grows from, nothing can penetrate. The Lord will make the rain of your land powder and dust. And those of us who are old enough to remember the Mount St. Helens eruption, okay, in parts of the Northwest, after the eruption, it would literally rain mud. It would literally be black, muddy rain.
So much particulate matter in the air.
And that would just make things worse, and they would coat everything with this crust, and it was horrible. It was horrible, and had it been the same time frame as when this was being written, it would have destroyed the land. Farmers couldn't farm. People couldn't move.
Right. Karen said yes, there were ash on the car for weeks.
For weeks, yeah, Karen, yeah, you remember that. Even down here, ash and dust were everywhere. In other places where they have volcanic eruptions, it rains black. black mud, as the particulates fall from the sky and choke out breath and choke out the ability for plants to grow. So these are things that God said, and why? Again, this is not God being a capricious God. He's not some mythological Greek God. This is God saying, you will have brought this upon yourself. Yeah, Karen says airplanes could not fly through the particles. Yeah, their engines would literally choke out and they would fall from the sky if they didn't burst into flames, right? Absolutely, absolutely. We've seen these things. We've seen these things, so we know God ain't messing around. He's not lying.
Right.
Okay? And these are the results of our own disobedience. Okay? God can use naturalistic things to bring about his judgments, and he often does. Okay? And it could be argued, well, you know, earthquakes and rainstorms and floods and volcanoes, they've happened since time immemorial, right? Indeed, indeed they have. They are part of the fallen earth. Always keep that in mind when we're talking about that. We live in a fallen earth, on a fallen earth. Okay? Yes, God uses these things to sustain life, and much of the earth is still beautiful, but it is also a fallen earth. Okay? We have to remember that. Verse 25.
The Lord will cause you to be defeated by your enemies. You will go out one way against them, but you will flee 7 ways from their presence, and you will be an example of terror to all the kingdoms of the earth. Your dead bodies will serve as food for all the birds of the sky and for the animals of the earth, and there will be no one to frighten them away.
Okay, and we know that this happened on multiple occasions. We know that this happened, and I don't think that it's, if I may, with all due respect, I don't think it's much of a stretch to say that, and I say this very carefully, and I say this with utmost respect, because I do not want to make the blame seem like it lies on the Jews, but they experienced some of this in concentration camps during World War II.
Right.
Evil overpowered them. I don't want to say that this happened because they were disobedient. I don't want to say that. Okay? But they witnessed, they lived, in some cases, lived and died through these kind of examples. And we know that there are numerous examples of the Israelites being overrun by their enemies and defeated by their enemies, and the ensuing battles would just leave bodies scattered. And we also have the book of Revelation that talks about battles where bodies are going to be scattered across the plains, and birds of the sky will birds of prey and scavenger birds will be doing exactly what the scripture says. So please take this in context. Don't go away saying, oh, Pastor Dan said that the Jews deserve what they got in concentration camps. Never, never. I want to be emphatic about that. That is not what I'm saying, but I'm saying that these kind of terrors were witnessed. We've seen them. We've seen them in the lifetime of people that are still present to talk about them. This horrible curse upon the nation. Okay. Verse 27.
The Lord will strike you with the boils of Egypt, and with tumors, the festering rash, and with scabies from which you cannot be healed. The Lord will strike you with insanity, blindness, with confusion of mind, and you will be groping about at noon, just as a person who is blind gropes in the darkness, and you will not be successful in your ways, but you will only be oppressed and robbed all the time, with no one to save you.
Okay, now this has multiple meanings. This curse can have multiple meanings. Some of you are probably reading this and thinking like, oh my gosh, this sounds like chemical warfare. And indeed it does. It does sound like chemical warfare.
Right.
And it does sound like a nuclear attack. And it's true. And these kind of things happened during World War I. during World War I, and arguably, it could be said that the entire world was being disobedient, right? And it could be argued that when mustard gas was released, these symptoms appeared. Tumors and skin falling off the body and blindness and things that resembled boils, and throughout history, plagues swept through the various regions of the world, and in the Middle East, where these people, the Israelites, inhabited. There have been time and time again when plagues swept through, and these exact things happen. And you get the picture of somebody helpless, wandering about, and blindly groping and being taken advantage of, trying to find a way. So there's also a symbolic aspect to this verse too. When they turn their back on the Lord, we're not going to know which way to go. When you willingly turn your back on the Lord, ultimately, you do not know the way that we ought to go, and you're groping about in the darkness, hoping, seeking, but not willing to follow and obey what God says, and you're just wandering about, and you're easily taken advantage of. And that's why so many things come to mind. I mean, people signing their fortune over to fortune tellers and false prophets and charlatans and all these things. They've come to pass. But these are curses. These are curses that the people would and did experience. Okay. Verse 30.
You will betroth a woman, but another man will violate her. You will build a house, but you will not live in it. You will plant a vineyard, but you will not make use of its fruit. Your ox will be slaughtered before your eyes, but you will not eat of it. Your donkey will be snatched away from you, and will not be restored to you. Your sheep will be given to your enemies, and you will have no one to save you.
And again, talking about the family life, that your disobedience will bring so much calamity upon your family, your home, your livelihood. Think of an ox as bank account, tractor, supplier of milk and cheese, the necessities of life. The same thing with the donkey being the ability to carry and travel, carry loads and travel and do things of that nature. These things will be taken from you. They'll be snatched from you. You will be robbed of these things. This is all part of the curse, all part of the horrific curses. Again, consequences of disobedience. Verse 32.
Your sons and your daughters will be given to another people, while your eyes look on and long for them constantly, but there will be nothing you could do.
Historically, when the Babylonians and other people groups conquered, the Persians conquered or overran the Israelites after they were established and the Israelites were taken into captivity, this was the picture of sons and daughters being led away in chains, and some literature says with hooks through their noses or hooks through their cheek, being drug away into servitude, never to be seen again. And we are all probably familiar enough with the imagery of slavery in the United States. The pictures come to mind of families being torn asunder, right? And again, please understand, I am not saying that American slaves deserved what they got. Please do not misunderstand me. I'm talking imagery here. I'm talking about, we've seen the films, we've seen the movies, and that idea and how horrific those moments are. And that's what God is saying. This is going to happen to your sons and daughters, to the nation of Israel.
Right.
This will happen. So I'm utilizing 18th, 19th century imagery to help us understand what God is pronouncing curses upon. I am in no way saying that Black Americans that were enslaved, they deserve this because they disobeyed. Please
No,
do
no,
not,
no, no.
please
But it's
do
just
not misunderstand.
the imagery of
It's the imagery.
what God's describing.
Yeah.
I mean, in that, imagine, like we've seen, or there are accounts of, and it's been recorded of what the people have lived through, and that's in somewhat of our lifetime or more recent history.
Right. So,
but that is what God's describing, and it will happen to the Hebrew people if they don't obey Him.
Right. Since the whole point of this chapter is to build this imagery, this horrific imagery of what would befall them for their disobedience. We want to draw upon things that we understand so that we can understand the gravity of what God is saying. If these people are disobedient, these are the things that will befall them. So I'm grasping and pulling imagery from our lifetimes and from things that we understand to try and drive home the point. Okay, not to equate.
Right.
Not to equate. But,
it's not an example. But it's an example of the type of of things that will happen, that the Hebrews would experience similar atrocities. Right.
Verse 33.
A people whom you do not know will eat the produce of your ground and every product of your labor, and you will never be anything but oppressed and mistreated continually. You will also be driven insane by the sight of what you see. Right.
And think back just 40 odd years prior. For 400 years, the Israelites were enslaved by the Egyptians. They just came out of that, and their disobedience, God is saying, you'll go right back into it.
Land you right, and it did. I mean, I actually ended up in Babylon.
Right, they ended up in Babylon.
Slaves.
Throughout the Israelite history, if we continue on in our study of the history of Israel, in the subsequent books, Joshua and Kings and things of that nature, we see this happening over and over again. The Canaanites, the Philistines coming in and stealing the crops. Just as they were getting ready to harvest the crops, and in sweep the Philistines to steal the crops. We know this happened historically.
Judges with Gideon, that's why God raised up Gideon.
Right.
Because they would just come in and right when they were harvesting crops.
Robin asks another astute question. Why didn't the imagery stop them from sinning? Did they not take it seriously? Robin,
I don't know.
You would think, right? But we have the images of World War II. We have the images of concentration camps. We have the images of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We have the images of Rwanda in our lifetime.
Right.
And yet people continue to pursue violence and
evil and worshiping themselves and pride. They're not.
We have all these things. We have the images of drug addicts, that are just cast aside and their corpses are rotting in the streets. We have all of these images they're thrust before us on nightly television. Right? And yet, how much of our world chooses to ignore, disobey, abandon God? So, excellent question, Robin, but why? It's because our sinful nature says we don't need God. Our sinful nature says, I can do it on my own. What good is that old God, that old book? What possible good could I get out of a tooth?
Well, and the enemy says, in our ear, did God really say?
Yes.
Like, that's not really going to happen. I mean, so, the enemy convinces people that God's not real or His word's not real, and these things aren't really going to come to pass. Just like today, So I imagine that was happening back in the day of we're talking about here in Deuteronomy as well. So,
well, because Gay and I just literally lived through all of the crazy of this evacuation order due to this chemical this potential explosion and toxic fume cloud, right? So because we were affected by it, maybe more so than other people, and certainly those of you who are listening or following from other parts of the country or even other countries. So we paid very, very close attention to the details, and as the details unfold, what we're finding out is that this whole incident, this toxic chemical potential explosion, could have easily been diverted had the company practiced basic maintenance. The stories are starting to unfold. The facts are starting to become evident that poor maintenance, disregard for safety procedures, just a thinking that oh, we'll get around to it, or we don't need to do that because nothing's happened since, nothing. We've been here since 1948, and nothing bad has ever happened, so what could possibly go wrong, right? So, and bam, there it is. There it is. 50,000 people were affected by a repeated pattern of ignoring maintenance, ignoring warning signs, paying fines, but not doing anything about what they were fined for, all of that, right? And this is what it is. Ignore God, pay the consequences. Pastor Dan says, it is part of the nature of sin to diminish the prospect of the result of sin. Indeed, well said, well said. It is our nature to deny that we will see the consequences. Again, indeed, well said. And it will happen to that other person.
Right. That won't happen to me.
That won't happen to me. I'll figure a way around it.
It could happen to someone else, but
Right.
it won't happen to me.
Right.
Exactly. And that's the lie of the enemy. You're like,
Right.
you don't have to worry about that.
I'll make a deathbed confession and I'll be good.
God didn't really say
Right.
that it would matters what you do on a day-to-day. Just that
Right.
you believe in him kind of in general. And
When I'm old and enfeebled, then I'll turn to the Lord. Except then your mind is gone and you don't even remember the names of your kids. Or you get hit by that bus that you did not see coming. Or your heart just suddenly fails and the last thing you can say is a curse word as your body hits the ground.
right.
So, yeah, not a good plan. Not a good backup plan.
Yeah.
So, well said, Pastor Dan. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes.
I've just spent several hours on the Zoom call with a lady that is representative of Aflac Insurance, which is a disability and short-term disability and different kinds of insurances and that kind of supplement other insurances. But it's very interesting because she's been doing this for a long time, but she said so some people, you can choose to get the short-term disability, accidental death, then there's a cancer rider, there's a critical illness rider policy, different parts. But she's like, and she's not a pushy person or anything. She's just really sweet. But she's like, I've seen so many people that, including herself, like she signed up for these coverages, and some of them, like if you have no pre-existing condition, and then she said like a month later, the next month, person got diagnosed with cancer, and then the policy paid out like right away to help cover co-pays and all sorts of stuff like that. But you could say, well, I'm this old and I haven't gotten cancer so far. My heart's been good. I'm fine. But it's kind of hard to decide. So do you want the one that pays out if you have heart surgery or end up in the ICU, or just pays out if you have a stroke but no heart surgery and no ICU coverage, or I don't know. It seems a little like if something major like that happens, I might need the whole package,
The whole shebang, right.
So I just was literally talking about that kind of thing. Well, how do you feel? Do you feel like you want to go with the thing, or less? Might not happen. Will that happen to me, or will that happen to someone else? And she's like, it does. She's not like, oh, it happens to everyone, but she's like, I've just seen people that literally sign up for this just because they feel the Lord's prompting, and that's what's happening with me. The Lord's prompting me to get this extra coverage. Not really sure why. I'm just praying that I don't get diagnosed with cancer in a month and be one of those stories that she gets to tell about people. But if it happens, I mean, thank God I followed his prompting, you know. So
right.
But it's one of those weird conversations. But that's what, you know, we're dealing with, like, oh, it won't happen to me, and so then we think it won't happen to us, or the consequences won't happen to us. But there are consequences, you know, to our actions, and they might come out years later, you know. And God's spelling it out for his people right here. Like, it's in his word, and he's having Moses, you know, reiterate to them, this is serious. If you don't follow me, and there will be consequences, and here's the consequences. So
Right.
I love it that people that, oh, God got mad at me and did this, this, and this, or I feel like God pulls no punches. He doesn't, like, just all of a sudden get angry with the people and come up with a way to punish them. Like, he's laying it out before they make their choices. But then he still lets us make the choice.
Right. Then notice in verse 34, this is not, you will be driven insane by worry and speculation and stay up nights thinking, well, what if? It's by sight. These things will transpire in front of you. You will see them. That's what's going to drive you crazy.
Right.
That's what's going to drive you insane.
The one version says, you shall become mad because of what your eyes shall see.
Right, right. This will be unfolding before you, and you will know. You will know. And this is a foreshadowing of hell. This is a foreshadowing of hell. This verse, to me anyway, is a foreshadowing of hell, because you will have, it'll all be revealed, and you will not be able to say, what if, because you will know what you did with your life. You will know that you abandoned God. You will know that you mocked and you turned away from him, and you cursed his name.
Right.
You abandoned him.
Right.
You will know these things, and that's what will drive you insane. And so, yeah, there's a big difference between worry and between realization.
Yeah. So the NLT says you'll go mad because of all the tragedy you see around you.
Right.
Right. So it's gonna, because they know the word, you know, and they've been told up front. Yep. So
verse 35.
The Lord will strike you on the knees and thighs with severe boils from which you cannot be healed, and strike you from the sole of your foot to the top of your head.
Okay.
Yikes.
This sort of echoes the book of Job. If you've read Job, you know that he was struck with these maladies, with the understanding that Job wasn't being disobedient. He was being righteous. But God allowed him to go through this trial, knowing that that Job would emerge victorious as he relied upon God in the end. But for those who choose to disobey, that these maladies are part of that curse, right? And it could be thought of as indicative of not following his rules. When it says his commandments, when we were going through the whole book of Leviticus and even in Numbers, there were all of these rules, so to speak, and regulations, laws, and commandments to maintain the health of the community. Don't do this. Don't do that. Stay away from this. Stay away from that. To maintain the health and the integrity of the people's physical well-being, right? And if we're disobeying God and we're like, yeah, I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. Again, same thing as saying, like, I don't need to wash my vegetables. What do I need to cook that pork for? You know, should I wash my hands, right? Mm-hmm. Or, oh, come on, you know, a little bit of this, a little bit of that's not going to hurt me.
Doesn't matter, right?
It matters. It matters, right? Verse 36.
The Lord will bring you and your king, whom you appoint over you, to a nation that neither you nor your fathers have known, and there you shall serve other gods made of wood and stone, and you will become an object of horror, a song of mockery, and an object of taunting among all the peoples where the Lord drives you.
This points back to what Robin was talking about. Yes, this was fulfilled in the Babylonian captivity. They literally were drug away and served a nation that they had never been to, that was hundreds of miles away, filled with pagan idols that they were required to bow down to. Hence the whole story of Daniel and his refusal to bow down, right?
Remember, that took place while he was in Babylon.
While he was in Babylon,
Right.
and
While they're in captivity.
Israel was what it says, object of horror. Just the devastation was horrifying. The devastation afterwards, and the devastation even in the time of Jesus, the devastation that was wrought upon Jerusalem in 70 A.D., the mockery, the taunting of a subjugated people. All of these things came to fruition. They were curses because the people chose to disobey God. Verse 38. We're almost out of time.
You will bring out a great amount of seed to the field, but you will gather in little, because the locusts will devour it. You will plant and cultivate vineyards, but you will neither drink of the wine nor bring in the harvest, because the worm will eat it. You will have olive trees throughout your territory, but you will not anoint yourself with the oil, because your olives will drop off prematurely.
Okay,
So you're going to try to plant a lot of stuff, but nothing's going to grow.
Basic sustenance,
basic sustenance,
things that all of the people would have been familiar with. Locust invasions, the cyclical locust invasions, blight upon grapes. I just read a headline a couple of days ago that California is in the midst of some kind of a problem with the vineyards. Right? Now, we don't rely on wine per se for the things that the Israelites relied upon wine for. Nonetheless, this is a major blow to a major industry
right.
in California. Pastor Dan says it's ironic that they were dragged back to the very land that Abram had been called out of. This is us to carry it. That is like sin. That is like sin to carry us back into what God saved us from. Yes, absolutely. We get sucked back into that familiar sin, right? So easily. We're so easily drawn into that. And that's part of what the Israelites experienced over and over again, was they get sucked back into that idol worship that they endured. They attempted to be set apart, but they were subjected to it for 400 years.
Right.
And all the people groups around them. And those people groups seemed to be thriving. So yeah, they got sucked back into that. Verse 41.
And then I want to share for a minute in case people that are watching, because I see that there's like 10 or 9 people watching, but 7 people logged in, it looks like. So verse 41, you will father sons and daughters, but they will not remain yours, because they will go into captivity.
Which we've spoken about. So yeah, go ahead.
So I was just going to say a couple things before we end. 2 things. One is, if you're local, this Sunday, May 31st, we're having a baptism service after our normal morning service. So we normally meet at the light at Cal Heights Baptist at 9:30 a.m. And we are meeting, having regular service, and I'm preaching on Sunday. But then we're going to have a light luncheon in the fellowship hall there, right where we meet. And then in the main sanctuary of the church, we're going to have a baptism service at 1 o'clock. Right now we have 1 person getting baptized, but if you or someone you know is interested in being baptized, they could come to the luncheon before the service, and we could talk to them about baptism and make sure they, understand what it is and what it's about, and they could join us as far as being baptized. Or you could come and support the individual that is getting baptized this coming week. And if you're watching but you haven't been successful at logging in tonight to be part of the chat like usual, I just wanted to say I did post some notes at the top of the chat, but basically we've changed. Pastor Paul's improving our service and the server that we are streaming to and through and all that good stuff. I don't really understand it, but it's always really cool, and it's always an improvement. But you do need to, it works well now, like your regular login might not work right now to be able to be part of the chat, but you can enter your phone number when it kind of pops up and says phone number instead of asking you like your username. It'll say phone number. If you put your phone number in and then click on forgot password, even though you haven't maybe forgotten your password, because you just have to reset it. So you click on forgot password, and then you'll put in, it'll send you a code to your phone, and then you put the code in, and then you can put your password in. It could be your old password. You don't have to think of a new one. And then they'll have you to do that like kind of again, and then you can log in using your phone number and your password. It could be the old previous one that you can remember. So just to make you aware of that. So it's great to see you guys. Don't give up if you're trying to log in. You know, that's all it does. It just takes a couple steps using that phone number and then forgot password and then reset your password. But if you have any questions, you can, if you have my number, you know, feel free to text me or call me, and I can try to help you work through it, because you can log in anytime on this site. It doesn't really, I think, have to be during a live Bible study, or you could log in on Tuesday and Wednesday at 7, and then Thursdays at 7 is ours, you know, but if you want to like practice beforehand, so you can get in here and be part of the chat again. So anyway, we appreciate you guys being so faithful and logging in. Pastor Paul gave us a new emoji we can have a reaction to. We can do praise hands, we can do heart, we can do prayer, and we can do we're on fire. See, there's a little fire. So so just wanted to tell you guys about those, how to log in. And if you have questions, feel free to text me or call me, and I'll be happy to help you walk through it.
Very good. Have a great
All right,
night,
guys.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Be blessed.